Let me tell you something that can change the way you look at love forever. When somebody truly loves you, they don't just tell you they love you. They don't just send you sweet messages, buy you things, or show up when everything is easy. Real love reveals itself in the questions somebody asks when they genuinely care about your heart. Because when a person is serious about you, they become curious about you. They want to know what makes you happy. They want to know what hurts you. They want to know what you need. They want to understand the parts of you that you don't show everybody else. And there are two questions that can reveal more about someone's feelings than 100 romantic words ever could. The first question is simple. What do you need from me? And the second one is even deeper. How can I make your life better? Now listen carefully, because these questions aren't about perfection. They're about intention. Anybody can say, I love you. Anybody can say, I miss you. Anybody can say you're beautiful. But somebody who truly loves you starts asking, what do you need? That's different, because now the conversation isn't about what they can get from you. It's about what they can give to you. That's where real love begins. You see, a person who is only interested in having you wants your attention. A person who truly values you wants your peace. There's a difference. Someone who only wants access to you will ask, when can I see you? Someone who truly cares about you will eventually ask, are you okay? Someone who wants your body may ask when you're available. Someone who wants your heart will ask what you're carrying. Someone who wants your attention wants to know how to get closer to you. Someone who loves you wants to know how to understand you. And that's why you have to stop measuring love only by words. Watch the questions, watch the curiosity, watch what they pay attention to, because people reveal their priorities through what they consistently want to know about you. If they love you, they're going to notice when your energy changes. They're going to notice when your smile isn't real. They're going to notice when you're quieter than usual. They're going to notice when something is bothering you, even when you say, I'm fine. Not because they're mind readers, because they're paying attention. And that's what love does. Love pays attention. Real love doesn't just hear your words. It studies your silence. It notices the difference between your normal I'm tired and the I'm tired. That means I'm emotionally exhausted. It learns your patterns. It remembers the little things you thought nobody noticed. And when somebody asks you, what do you need from me? They're saying something powerful without saying it directly. They're saying, your needs matter to me. Think about how rare that is. Most people enter relationships thinking about what they want. What can you give me? How much attention will you give me? How much affection will you give me? How much can you sacrifice for me? But mature love asks a different question. What can I do for you? That question changes everything, because love isn't supposed to feel like one person constantly taking and the other constantly proving. Love should feel like two people looking at each other and saying, how can we make this better? And if somebody genuinely loves you, they won't make you feel guilty for having needs. They won't make you feel difficult because you need reassurance. They won't call you needy because you want communication. They won't punish you because you want consistency. They'll want to understand. Now, that doesn't mean they'll always be able to give you everything you ask for. That's important. Love doesn't mean unlimited availability. Love doesn't mean somebody becomes responsible for every emotion you experience. Love means they're willing to have the conversation. They're willing to listen. They're willing to learn. They're willing to say, I didn't realize that hurt you. And more importantly, they're willing to do something about it, because an apology without change is just another sentence. Real love produces movement. If somebody says they love you but repeatedly ignores what you've told them hurts you, pay attention. If you've explained what you need and they keep doing the opposite, don't let their words hypnotize you. Believe patterns. Because love isn't proven by what somebody promises when they're afraid of losing you. It's proven by what they consistently do when they know they already have you. That's where character shows up. That's where intention shows up. And that's where you discover whether someone wants a relationship or simply wants the benefits of having one. The second question is, how can I make your life better? Because it requires humility. It requires somebody to step outside themselves. They're not asking, how can you make me happier? They're asking, how can I contribute to your happiness? There's a major difference. A person who truly loves you doesn't want to become another problem you have to solve. They want to become part of the solution. They want to bring peace into your life. They want to encourage you. They want to support your dreams. They want to see you become stronger, wiser, happier, and more confident. And here's something you need to understand. The right person won't be threatened by your growth. They'll celebrate it. They won't feel smaller because you're becoming bigger. They won't compete with your success. They'll clap for you. They'll tell people about you with pride. They'll encourage you when you doubt yourself. And when you succeed, they won't secretly wish it had been them. They'll say, I'm proud of you. That's love. Love doesn't need to control your light. Love wants to protect it. A person who truly loves you isn't asking, how do I keep you dependent on me? They're asking, how do I help you become everything you're capable of becoming? That's why you have to be careful with people who confuse love with control. Control says, do what I say. Love says, let's figure this out together. Control says, you don't need anybody but me. Love says, I want you to have a life you're proud of. Control is afraid of your independence. Love respects it. Control wants access to your phone. Love wants access to your heart. Control wants obedience. Love wants trust. And if you have to constantly shrink yourself to keep someone interested, that's not love. That's survival. You were not created to spend your life walking on eggshells just to keep somebody from leaving. You weren't put on this earth to beg somebody to recognize your value, and you definitely weren't meant to convince someone to treat you well. The person who genuinely loves you may not be perfect, but they will care about the impact they have on you. They'll care when they hurt you. They'll care when you're struggling. They'll care about the future you're trying to build. They'll ask questions because they don't want to assume. That's one of the biggest signs of emotional maturity. Instead of saying, I know what you need, they'll ask. Instead of saying, you're overreacting, they'll listen. Instead of saying, that's just how I am, they'll consider whether their behavior is damaging something valuable. Because love makes people willing to examine themselves. And that's something you should never forget. The right person doesn't just ask questions when they're trying to win you. They keep asking questions after they've won your heart. That's the difference. Anybody can become attentive during the chase. The real test comes after the relationship becomes comfortable, when the excitement fades, when life gets busy, when responsibilities pile up, when you're no longer trying to impress each other. That's when you discover whether the love was real, because real love doesn't disappear when the butterflies disappear. It gets deeper. The conversation changes. You stop asking, do you like me? And you start asking, how can we build something that lasts? You stop chasing validation. You start building trust. You stop performing. You start becoming vulnerable. And vulnerability requires safety. You should be able to tell the person you love, this is what I need, without feeling ashamed. You should be able to say, that hurt me, without fearing punishment. You should be able to say, I'm scared, without being mocked. You should be able to say, I don't know, without being judged. That's what emotional safety looks like. And if someone truly loves you, they'll care about creating that environment. They won't use your vulnerabilities as weapons later. They won't collect your insecurities just to throw them back at you during the argument. They'll protect what you've trusted them with. Because when someone gives you access to their heart, that's a responsibility. And the right person understands that. So don't get distracted by the person who says all the right things, but never asks the right questions. Don't be impressed by someone who tells you you're everything while making you feel like nothing. Don't confuse chemistry with commitment. Don't confuse attention with affection. And don't confuse being wanted with being valued. Being wanted can be temporary. Being valued is consistent. Someone can want you because you're attractive. Someone can want you because you're convenient. Someone can want you because you make them feel good. But someone who values you thinks about your well-being, even when there's nothing immediate in it for them. That's a different level of love. And that's what you should look for. Look for the person who asks, what do you need? Look for the person who asks, how can I help? Look for the person who notices. Look for the person who listens. Look for the person who remembers. Look for the person who adjusts. Because love isn't just about finding someone who feels strongly about you. It's about finding someone whose actions make you feel safe being yourself. And sometimes the The greatest evidence of love isn't found in what someone says when they're holding you. It's found in what they ask when you're hurting. It's found in whether they care enough to understand. It's found in whether your happiness matters to them when your happiness requires effort. And if you ever find somebody who consistently asks those two questions, what do you need from me? And how can I make your life better? Don't take that lightly, because you may have found somebody who isn't just looking for a relationship. You may have found somebody who is looking for a partnership, and there is a world of difference between the two. And that's where you need to become wise. Because love isn't only about finding somebody who asks the right questions. It's also about recognizing whether their actions match the answers. Somebody can learn the language of love without actually living it. They can say, what do you need from me? They can say, how can I make your life better? But if nothing changes after the conversation, those words become empty. Real love doesn't just ask. Real love listens. Real love remembers. Real love responds. And that's why you should never judge someone's love by one emotional moment. Watch what happens over time. Watch what happens after an argument. Watch what happens when you disagree. Watch what happens when you're vulnerable. Watch what happens when you need them and they don't benefit from helping you. That's where you'll see the truth. Anybody can be loving when everything is going their way. Character appears when things get difficult. When you're both frustrated, does this person still respect you? When you make a mistake, do they humiliate you or help you grow? When they make a mistake, can they admit it? When you're successful, do they celebrate you or compete with you? When you're struggling, do they disappear or get closer? These moments tell you more than romantic words ever will, because real love isn't just a feeling. It's a decision. It's a decision to communicate, a decision to be honest, a decision to protect trust, a decision to show up, a decision to care even when caring requires sacrifice. And if somebody truly loves you, they won't always get it right. That's another thing you need to understand. Stop expecting perfection from people you love. The right person can still hurt you. They can still misunderstand you. They can still say the wrong thing. They can still have bad days. They can still fail. The difference is what they do afterward. Do they become defensive or do they become accountable? Do they blame you or do they try to understand? Do they say, that's your problem? Or do they say, tell me what I can do differently? That sentence can save a relationship. Tell me what I can do differently. That's humility. That's maturity. That's love with responsibility attached to it. And you need that because you don't need somebody who simply wants to possess your heart. You need somebody who knows how to take care of it. There's a difference. Possession says, you're mine. Care says, you're safe with me. Possession fears losing control. Care builds trust. Possession demands. Care considers. Possession takes. Care gives. And the person who truly loves you will understand that your heart is not something to conquer. It's something to protect. That's why you should stop chasing people who make you constantly question where you stand. If somebody genuinely wants you, you shouldn't have to spend every night decoding their behavior. You shouldn't have to analyze every text. You shouldn't have to wonder why they're warm today and cold tomorrow. You shouldn't have to become a detective just to understand whether you're loved. Healthy love brings clarity. It doesn't mean there are never misunderstandings. It means you're not constantly living inside one. There is consistency. There's communication. There's reassurance. There's effort. And most importantly, there is peace. Now, some of you listening have spent too much time trying to convince someone to love you. You gave more. You called more. You texted more. You apologized even when you weren't wrong. You lowered your standards. You accepted behavior you once promised yourself you would never accept. And you called it love. But sometimes what you call love is actually fear. Fear of being alone. Fear that you won't find anyone else. Fear that if you walk away, you'll regret it. Fear that someone better isn't coming. Listen to me. Never let the fear of losing someone make you lose yourself. Because the moment you abandon yourself just to keep somebody else, you've already lost something more valuable, your peace, your dignity, your identity. The right person won't require you to destroy yourself to prove that you love them. They won't ask you to become smaller so they can feel bigger. They won't demand that you silence your needs just to keep the relationship comfortable. And if you have to beg someone to ask what you need, that's already an answer. If you have to repeatedly explain why respect matters, that's an answer. If you have to constantly teach somebody that your feelings deserve consideration, that's an answer. Sometimes the answer you don't want is the answer you need. And walking away doesn't mean you didn't love them. Sometimes walking away means you finally decided to love yourself too. That's not selfish. That's necessary, because self-respect changes the way you choose people. When you respect yourself, you stop being impressed by temporary attention. You stop celebrating the bare minimum. You stop calling inconsistency mystery. You stop calling emotional unavailability independence. You stop calling disrespect passion. And you start looking for something deeper. You start asking yourself, does this person bring peace into my life? Do I feel respected here? Can I be myself? Can I communicate my needs? Do their actions match their words? Do they make my life better? Or am I constantly recovering from the relationship? Those questions matter, because you deserve a relationship where love isn't something you have to earn every morning. You deserve someone who doesn't make you feel replaceable, someone who isn't constantly making you compete for their attention, someone who understands that consistency is romantic. You know what feels good? Knowing where you stand. Knowing that if something is wrong, you can talk about it. Knowing that your partner isn't looking for an exit every time things become uncomfortable. Knowing that you can grow without being punished for changing. Knowing that your dreams have a place in the relationship. Knowing that your happiness matters. That's real security. And when you find someone who gives you that, appreciate it. Don't take it for granted just because it feels peaceful. Sometimes people who grew up around chaos mistake peace for boredom. They think love has to be dramatic. They think arguments mean passion. They think jealousy means somebody cares. They think emotional roller coasters mean chemistry. No, sometimes the healthiest love feels quiet. It feels stable. It feels safe. It feels like being able to breathe. You don't have to constantly prove yourself. You don't have to chase. You don't have to perform. You don't have to wonder. You simply exist together, grow together, and choose each other again and again. That's powerful. And if someone truly loves you, they'll want to know the version of you that exists beyond the surface. They'll ask about your dreams. They'll ask about your fears. They'll ask what you're working toward. They'll ask what makes you feel appreciated. They'll ask what makes you feel neglected. They'll ask what kind of future you want. Not because they're conducting an interview, because they want to build a life that actually includes you. That's the difference between dating somebody and building with somebody. Dating can be about chemistry. Building requires intention. Dating asks, do we have fun together? Building asks, can we handle life together? Dating asks, do you make me feel good? Building asks, can we make each other better? That's why the two questions matter so much. What do you need from me? How can I make your life better? They're really asking something deeper. How can I love you in a way that you can actually feel? That's the question, because love isn't only about your intention. It's about your impact. You might say, I love you, but if the other person constantly feels ignored, something is missing. You might say, I care about you, but if they constantly feel alone, something is missing. You might say, you're important to me, but if they never feel prioritized, something is missing. Love has to travel from the heart into behavior. That's where it becomes real. So if you're in a relationship right now, stop waiting for your partner to magically know everything you need. Communicate. Tell them. And then watch what they do with the information. That's the test. If you say, I need more communication, and they genuinely try, appreciate that effort. If you say that behavior hurt me, and they listen, acknowledge that. If you say, I want us to spend more quality time together, and they make room for you, recognize that. Don't demand perfection. Look for willingness. Willingness is powerful. A person who is willing to learn how to love you better can become an incredible partner. But someone who refuses to learn will eventually make you feel lonely inside the relationship. And loneliness inside a relationship can be more painful than being alone. So don't settle for a relationship where you're physically together, but emotionally disconnected. Don't settle for somebody who only wants you when it's convenient. Don't settle for someone who knows how to receive your love, but has no idea how to return it. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve effort that goes both ways. You deserve somebody who asks about your day and actually listens to the answer. Somebody who notices when you're overwhelmed. Somebody who remembers what matters to you. Somebody who can put their pride down long enough to protect the relationship. And yes, you deserve somebody who asks those two powerful questions. What do you need from me? How can I make your life better? But there's one more thing you need to remember. You should be willing to ask them those questions too, because love is not a one-way street. Don't demand from someone what you're unwilling to give. If you want someone who listens, become a listener. If you want someone who supports your dreams, support theirs. If you want someone who communicates, communicate. If you want someone who asks about your needs, ask about theirs. Love becomes powerful when two people stop keeping score, not because boundaries don't matter. They do, but because genuine partnership isn't about constantly calculating who did more. It's about both people saying, we're on the same team. And when two people truly understand that, the relationship becomes stronger. They don't fight against each other. They fight for the relationship. They don't try to win every argument. They try to understand. They don't keep bringing up old mistakes. They work toward a better future. They don't threaten to leave every time things get hard. They learn how to repair. That's emotional maturity. And that's the kind of love worth protecting. So here's what I want you to remember. Don't chase words. Watch behavior. Don't chase attention. Watch consistency. Don't chase promises. Watch patterns. And don't chase somebody who makes you feel like you have to audition for a place in their life. The right person won't make you beg to be valued. They'll make an effort to understand your value. They'll ask questions. They'll listen to your answers. They'll care about your feelings. They'll care about your future. They'll care about your peace. And when they realize they've hurt you, they'll want to know how to make it right. That's love, not perfection, not fantasy, not some movie where nobody ever disagrees. Real love is two imperfect people choosing to treat each other with respect. It's two people learning, two people growing, two people communicating, two people saying, I don't know everything about loving you yet, but I'm willing to learn. That's powerful. And if you have that kind of person in your life, don't take them for granted. Tell them you appreciate them. Show them. Because sometimes we spend so much time searching for the right person that we forget to become the right person for someone else. Be the person who asks, be the person who listens, be the person who notices, be the person who shows up. Be the person who brings peace. And most importantly, never forget your own worth while loving somebody else. You can love someone deeply and still have boundaries. You can care about someone and still walk away from disrespect. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. You can miss someone and still know they're not good for you. And you can love someone without losing yourself. That's the balance. That's maturity. That's strength. So the next time someone tells you, I love you, don't just listen to the words. Look at the questions. Look at the effort. Look at the consistency. Look at the way they treat your heart when nobody is watching. Because the person who truly loves you won't only want to know how to keep you. They'll want to know how to care for you. They'll ask, what do you need from me? They'll ask, how can I make your life better? And when someone asks those questions sincerely, pay attention, because they may be telling you something far more powerful than I love you. They're saying, your happiness matters to me. Your peace matters to me. Your future matters to me. And I want to be someone who adds value to your life. That's the kind of love you should recognize. That's the kind of love you should give. And that's the kind of love you should never settle for less than. Because at the end of the day, love isn't about finding someone who says the perfect words. It's about finding someone whose presence makes those words believable. Someone whose actions give their promises meaning. Someone who doesn't just want a place in your life, but wants to make that life better. And when you find that person, don't play games. Don't manipulate. Don't pretend you don't care. Don't test them just to see if they'll chase you. Be honest, be intentional, be grateful. Because real love is rare. And when it's real, you won't constantly have to ask yourself whether you're loved. You'll feel it in the way they listen. You'll feel it in the way they show up. You'll feel it in the way they protect your trust. You'll feel it in the questions they ask. And you'll know that you finally found someone who isn't just saying, I love you. They're showing you every single day